Joining me now to have this conversation in context is former Assistant Secretary of Defense during the Reagan administration, Lawrence Korb. It's good to see you, sir.
Nice to be with you.
Thank you very much. Now, did what I lay out there offend reason or basically make sense?
Well, if Putin were to use nuclear weapons in this conflict, it's most likely he would use tactical, which are smaller nuclear weapons, even smaller than the ones we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and drop it in Ukraine to do the same type of devastation he's doing now with all of the bombing of the cities. And of course, the real question would be, would we retaliate with an overwhelming strike against him? But the idea, obviously, we've always prepared for the nuclear war. I was in the Navy in 1962 when the Cuban Missile Crisis came, and everybody thought it was going to be the end because the Russian missiles then were in Cuba. It wasn't going to take them a half hour to get to New York or any place else. So you've always been prepared for that. But even if he were to hit all of the land-based missiles, we've got thousands of missiles on our submarines that we could retaliate. So I think the whole nuclear thing is basically, you put such horrible consequences if you use them, that leads to people not wanting to use them.
That's the hope. That's the hope. But when you look at the actors, you have to then start calculating in, which you're, an expert at in terms of, what does Putin see as risk? What does Iran see as risk? What does it mean to you that Iran has openly and brazenly joined their aggression efforts, letting it be known that they're there training and they're using drones to help knock out the power stations? What does it mean to you that they're having that kind of unholy alliance?
Well, I think what it means is Russia's desperate. When this war started, we thought they had the second largest military, most effective in the world. It's nowhere near that level. And to get Iran, which is really not a superpower, to have to provide you for weapons shows you how ill-prepared the Russians were for this war. They thought they'd go into Kiev, install a puppet government, and be over. Well, it certainly hasn't turned out. And what they're trying to do, they're getting more and more desperate to try and turn the situation around, talking about nuclear weapons. But the bombing that they're doing to the cities now and destroying the civilian infrastructure, threatening to deport people, they're trying to break the will of the Ukrainian people. But what's happened is it's actually strengthened it.
They are extraordinary. I was there this summer, and to me, it was oddly reminiscent of the revolutionary spirit in America against the English, where they are together. They have their differences. They're not as, they don't have the heterogeneous nature, the diversity that we do. But they have their disagreements, but not now. Now they're all in. They're all getting Ukrainian, lots of propaganda, and they're together in this. I agree with you on that. My concern is, do you believe that America is approaching this the right way right now?
I think we're doing exactly the right thing because we're not sending American men and women in there to fight like we did Iraq and Afghanistan and Vietnam. We're providing them with sophisticated equipment and also economic aid. And we've gotten all the European countries to contribute, even though if you look, for example, you got a fascist government probably in Italy now, but everybody's staying together and providing the equipment that they need. And basically, I'm sure Putin knows that if he uses nuclear weapons, we could retaliate because we've got just as many as he does. So I think, no, we're doing exactly the right thing. And the real question is, when will Putin realize that he has to negotiate? And, that's the only way you're going to end this.
That is a key point. I thank you for bringing it up. That's the supposition here, right? Hey, well, the Ukrainians have to, negotiate. Zelensky has said there is no room to negotiate because, like Americans feel, we don't negotiate with terrorists. He feels that's what he's dealing with in Russia, that this is terrorism and that they need to move before that there is any fair or reasonable basis for discussion. So that raises the issue is, one, do we agree? And two, what would make Russia think it had to come to the table with anything other than getting half the country.
Well, I think what would make them to come is, despite all this, the Ukrainians are still making gains on the battlefield. And, you know, Russia controlled Crimea and the Donbass region where Kherson is and everything like that before this war started. Well, they'll be lucky if they can hold on even to those by the end of this war. And so that's the real thing we need to. You might want to give Putin some face-saving way out where you say, well, we'll let the people in Donbass vote whether they want to be allied with you or with Ukraine. Ukraine was willing to negotiate in the beginning. They're not now, people. And what this is really like is what happened when Hitler bombed London. People forget that a lot of English were not wild about getting involved in a continental war, but that got them going and basically really got them together. And that's what's happened now. The Ukrainian people are all united. They're willing to send their sons and daughters to fight, and they're getting more and more sophisticated equipment. Sure, Iran has sent drones, but they're not like the HIMARS system that we're sending that we can use to target the Russians. And they've probably had 100,000 men killed or wounded.
The toll has been big, but life is cheap there for Putin right now. He doesn't have to deal with a lot of open hostility and pushback against him. Let's see how long that keeps. That may be the best thing that could happen in this situation, is that the Russian people stop seeing this as a good thing and start testing their own power.
What the people did when he tried to call back reserves and conscript people. 300,000 of them left the country, and a lot of them are being sent to battle with a week of training. We would never do that, you know, to a person.
But look, you know, desperate people do desperate things, and that's what we'll have to be watching for now. Let me impose on you, Brother Korb, to come back as we learn more information about the next step, because your insight is invaluable and appreciated. Well, thank you. I helped your father when he ran for president in '92 on foreign policy. Well, you bombed on that one. He never ran. But I appreciate you, Lawrence Korb. Thank you very much. God bless and be well. I'll talk to you soon. Yeah, same to you. Bye.